From bank of the Charles River, this is the Ivy League Digital Network, and today we have a big one. We'll culminate with the Compton Cup, Harvard, Princeton, and in the 2V and 1V races, MIT as well here on the Charles Men's Heavyweight Rowing on the Ivy League Digital Network with former Harvard oarsman Dave Presky. I'm Bill Spalding, glad to be with you. And Dave, this is the big one for Harvard so far this season, sitting at 3-0 as a Varsity 8 crew. Princeton is 4-0 this season, two top 5 teams. And for Harvard this year, it's about getting some redemption. First loss in 9 years to Princeton last year, and they lost the 4V through the Varsity 8. So each boat looking to get some payback.
Yeah, it was a tough year last year. The Compton Cup was very much Princeton's, and they earned it. They beat most of the Harvard boats by a pretty impressive margin. So I know the guys and the coaches are pretty focused on this duel.
Conditions pretty good today. We'll have a bit of a tailwind behind us. It's supposed to get stronger and stronger as the race goes along. So by the time we get to the first varsity boat, you could see some really fast times with that strong tailwind. But looks relatively smooth, which is a good condition to row in.
Yeah, you know, the tailwind can always be a little bit tricky. The boat can run under you a little bit faster. But yeah, times will be fast. And, you know, I think the second half of the race could be a little choppier. Just as we were going through the bridge, it looked like it got a little messy. So,
and it's a Princeton team that has not had a whole lot of success on the Charles River. Just one Compton Cup win in the last 60 years. Part of that, they race at an enclosed Mercer Lake, a beautiful facility down in New Jersey. So not always as much chop on that lake as you can get here in a more wide open river basin.
Yeah, I think their lake is pretty special. It's pretty cozy. So our guys know how to deal with the conditions. And, you know, depending on what type of spring they've had in New Jersey, they could be able to handle it well. They could not. I've had races against Princeton where they did not, and races where they did. So, you know, we'll see.
And it's about as deep a Princeton team as they've had in a long time, is that they feel really good about the group they've brought here to Cambridge. Again, we'll have MIT in the 2V and 1V races as well. They're coming in off a good win last weekend, and Harvard enters this weekend after a win against Brown in the Stein Cup last weekend. The first varsity boat won by only a seat, 0.6 of a second. What a close race down the stretch down in Providence.
Yeah, and everyone was pretty focused on that race just because Brown had traveled all the way to the Washington the weekend before and lost to them by a near similar margin. So, you know, and they had to travel cross country. So people were excited about that result here, but also have tempered expectations knowing that this Princeton team is fast and strong.
All right, we'll run through the lineup starting here in this fourth varsity race for Harvard. The coxswain is sophomore Madeline Zabriskie. Junior Chase Buckles is in the stroke seat. Sophomore Travis Anderson sits in seat 7. James Clark, only a freshman, in seat 6. Freshman Carter Dickinson in seat 5. Freshman Owen Borges in seat 4. Junior Yuri Udom in seat 3. Junior Tommy Marshall in seat 2. And another freshman, Jack Lane, in that bow seat for the Crimson. Meanwhile, for Princeton, their fourth varsity boat is coxswain by sophomore Nina Sola. Freshman Johnny Naylor is the stroke in seat 7. Hunter Johnson, he's followed in seat 6 by senior Douglas Guyette. Freshman Luke Wiggins is in seat 5. Sophomore Benjamin Lawton in seat 4. And in seat 3, it's freshman Alex Levine. In seat 2, sophomore John Helmers. And in that bow seat, William Evans, a senior. And you look at that Harvard boat, and there is some experience there, led by the stroke, Chase Buckles.
Yeah, no, it's good. I think one of the things you noted there is there are a lot of freshmen here, and so this is, you know, sort of the first real year in earnest we've had integration with the freshmen and the upperclassmen, and so Harvard did it mid-season last year. You know, I think partially in a response to some of the success other crews around the Ivy League had, but this is the first year where you've had integration through and through, and, you know, I think we'll go through the lineups in the other races, but you see freshmen sprinkled throughout all the crews.
Yeah, there's one freshman in Harvard's first varsity boat, a couple freshmen in that second varsity JV boat as well.
Yep.
That's set to go here in the 4V race. How important is it, though, to have some experience? A guy like Chase Buckles, a guy like Yuri Udom, who've been around to help usher these freshmen through these competitive races in that 4V boat.
Yeah, I think they can speak to having confidence during the race, and then I think you'll see it in the second half of the race where, you know, some freshmen, this is their second race, and frankly, they're not used to this level of competition. And And so having that belief in the second half is important, and hopefully some of those more experienced rowers can egg on their underclassmen.
All right, we have alignment between Harvard and Princeton. Fourth varsity race to get us going today. We'll go fourth varsity all the way through the first varsity over the next hour and a half here on the Ivy League Digital Network. Off we go in the 4V race. We'll watch the early start. Princeton's a team you've talked about likes to get off and running around 800. They'll make their first move.
Yeah, right now we're going to see some high strokes. I'm just taking the stroke rates right now. But it looks like both crews are about even through the first 15 strokes, which is good. Sometimes you can see a Princeton crew try to get aggressive and take seats early. I'd say that Harvard crews are coached to be strong through the middle 1,000, and so everyone has their way of getting to 2K, but
looks like maybe a seat lead for Harvard at this point. We expect all of these races, 4V through 1V, to be pretty close down the wire, though, as we've said, with two undefeated teams, not many comparable opponents, there's a lot of unpredictability in front of us today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got Harvard at 38, Princeton a little bit lower, but yeah, it looks pretty evenly matched. Now creeping up on the first 500, I'd say that Princeton probably has I think a seat or two, but it's tight.
Last year at the Compton Cup down in New Jersey, Princeton won all 4 races. Harvard beat MIT in the 2V and 1V, took second in the 3V and 4V as well. So Crimson trying to gain some traction here in the early races and set the tempo for the Varsity 8 and JV races later on today.
Yeah, the Boathouse will be really proud of these guys if the Harvard guys can get a win here. And it's important for everyone to see that it can be done and these Tigers can fall. 4
freshmen on each side, 4 for Princeton, 4 for Harvard in this fourth varsity boat. Again, the Crimson being stroked by a junior, Chase Buckles. Princeton stroked by a freshman, Johnny Naylor.
Yeah, it looks like Princeton, I think, is probably taking a little bit of a move here, and I've got them bouncing out a couple seats.
You can see the coxswain, Nina Sola, counting out those strokes for the Tigers as they move ahead a couple of seats, and we close in on about 750 meters through this 2,000-meter race. Our first of 4 men's races today here on the Ivy League Digital Network. We'll also have a couple of women's lightweight crew races coming your way later on today as well.
I've got Princeton at 36, Harvard at 36 as well. And you can see in the tailwind, they're moving pretty fluidly, and the wind isn't fighting them too much. We are seeing a little bit of skying in the Harvard crew.
You mentioned Harvard's a team that likes to move in that middle 1,000, so
yeah,
if you stay within striking distance here, it's set up well for that later move.
Yeah, here's what we're gonna find out what's gonna happen. Harvard's gonna take a move pretty soon. Princeton, I think, is out about 6 seats now, which is it's a good position to be in.
Yeah, slight lead for the Tigers, who have inched that lead out from about 300 meters here through the first 1,000, and you said it, about a 5 or 6 seat lead for the Tigers as we come underneath the bridge.
Yeah, it's about 6 seats, yeah.
See if Harvard has a move left in them here into the back half of this fourth varsity race.
Yeah, if they can stay in contact, maybe they can make something happen. A lot of freshmen, you don't know how the second half is going to unfold.
Freshmen in seats 6, 5, 4, and the bow seat for the Crimson.
Harvard, the Coxes are getting a little close together. You see that?
Yep. Officials trying to separate them a bit as, yeah, those boats are very close together.
Yeah, it looks like Harvard's getting warned to move to the left.
Princeton used to racing on Mercer Lake, which has the buoyed lanes. Harvard used to this open water.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure who's at fault there, but it's tough for any coxswain to steer in this course.
About a full 8-seat lead now for Princeton as we approach the final 600 meters. It's been a methodical race for the Tigers. They've just slowly inched out seat by seat through the opening 3 quarters of the race.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, it's been a good race for them. It looks like they made a good move at the 800 or so, and they made it count. So we're coming to the last 500 here. Harvard still got contacts. They can make something happen if it's going to have to be special.
We had them at about a 36 strokes per minute rate early. We'll see if they can kick it up into gear in this final 500, or if Princeton has one more move to find separation.
The Harvard crew looks like they're running into some chop. Saw some blade slapping.
First of 4 races today. Crimson trying to stay within contact of the Tigers of Princeton.
Looks like Harvard's going up now. They're calling it early to see if they can do it.
Got about 250, 300 meters to go as Harvard starts to churn forward on a move.
Harvard at 38. Looks like they've taken a seat back. Running out of daylight, though.
Princeton trying to hold on to its lead at about 6 seats. Harvard coming on a move late.
Oh, yeah, they're moving.
Gaining more ground in this final 250 meters.
Yeah, they're moving.
Now, Princeton went early. Harvard going late. Back to about a 5-seat lead.
Yeah. Running out of daylight, probably 10 strokes to go.
Here come the Crimson late. Tigers holding on. Once led by a full 8 seats, now down to about 4. Harvard closing. This young boat showing good grit down the stretch.
Yeah, Princeton responded.
And the Tigers answer strong with a few more waves. We head towards the flag line. A close opening start, but it looks like the Tigers will hang on, and Princeton comes on home, winning this 4th varsity race by about 5 seats over Harvard. A competitive start, though, to what should be 4 close races today.
Yep. Yes, definitely. That was pretty competitive. I think you saw the Harvard crew not be able to respond to that first sort of move after the 500. But they kept it close, and they didn't let Princeton walk away, which is important.
Tough finish for those Harvard Crimson trying to gain ground, but Princeton just built too big of a lead early. So Princeton takes the first of our 4 races today at 4th varsity. We'll be back in about 15 minutes with 3rd varsity coming up next on the Ivy League Digital Network.